Yeah, it's pretty tight. It's pretty. Um, yeah, it's that extra stuff, man. It's the extra stuff that you don't get at any other function. You know, each thing is a revealed knowledge. Yeah, I hate to make it sound like the Masons. 33-degree Mason Grand Poobah. But it's a little bit like that. Anyway, I don't want to make it sound too mysterious, but the more you expose yourself to Andy and the way he thinks, the more you will learn how he thinks. And that's probably the biggest thing about association, getting around people, is understanding and observing. The best way to model success is to model the people that are successful to the point where you kind of look at their body language, you study the way they teach, you study the way they interact with people, the questions they ask, and kind of the fallacies. Do you have to adopt the country boy stick? No, you have your own. Okay, you have your own personality. What you got to model is how he makes you feel, and what does he say to make people feel the way they feel. How does he engender trust? And that's all done by observation. You can listen to him on a conference call, but it doesn't happen until you're live with him, observing him interacting with people, like in an intimate setting. How does he make people feel? What does he say to make them feel that way? How does he inspire loyalty in his people? It's pretty cool. But the only way you can do it is by direct observation. And so there's like several layers of teaching. And if you go into those functions aware of how to learn, then you'll capture it all. So there's learning what he's saying and teaching. Okay, so that's at one level, that's the surface level. Teaching you what you need to know, how you need to think, your attitude, mindset. He's tweaking you. Then the second layer of learning is, how is he saying it? How is he structuring the way he's speaking? Why does he say that right there as opposed to another place in his talk? What is his intention in structuring his teaching the way he's structuring it? Okay, so that's a whole nother level. And then the third level, which is the deepest level of learning and modeling, is, what is he thinking when he's teaching what he's teaching? Okay, you might think it's a little bit like the second level, but it's not. The third level is the deeper part of, how is he feeling when he's doing it? And that's when you're with him finding out. So why did you say this? So what were you thinking when you said that? Why? How are you feeling when you were thinking that? That's the next peeling the onion back. And then when you can do all those three things, you'll have modeled him, and you'll get the same results that he gets. If you've been around him long enough, you're going to learn those things. Now, I don't want to make it sound like, wow, that sounds impossible. It is not impossible. Think about the people that you're the closest to, the most intimate people that you have relationships with. I'll tell you what, when you're close enough to them, you start thinking the same thing. Like Cord, how many times you're in a situation, you know exactly how Christy would react? Okay? Well, you know how she reacts because you know what she's thinking and how she's thinking. You know that when she makes decisions or what she does, you know that the emotional place that comes from, right? The feeling that motivates her to react to things or to make decisions. And the only way you know that is that you're that close, right? That's why association is powerful. Of course, you know, are we going to ever teach you this in a conference or in a hotspot? No. This kind of stuff is just way too deep just to teach everybody. That's why I don't teach this stuff on our conference calls, because our conference calls, people need to learn how to sell. They need to learn how to stay in the business and not get all the emotional crap messing them up. We're just trying to deal with them on a basic level to get them to graduate to the next level. Okay. So that's why I don't do these kind of talks. This is like we do these talks when I have 5, 6, 7 leaders on the call, or aspiring leaders on a call like this, so I can kind of reveal to you things that a lot of us know that are, that have been in this business a long time, right? If I try to give this stuff to you when you're like brand new in the business, your head would swim. Number one, you get too distracted. You wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to understand how to operate. But this is how it is, right? This is how it is when the power of association is the act of modeling behavior on someone who's already successful. Okay, it's a powerful thing when you understand it. And then you keep thinking, well, gosh, man, I've got all these things that I'm dealing with. How do I deal with it? And I want to build a large group. I want to have direct influence and impact on other people. I want to take care of my financial needs, my family's financial needs. Alex, what? There's too much. And I go, and so on a call like this, I want to help you, number one, make better decisions, and number two, learn how to simplify your life. There's a couple things in terms of what you need to be very conscious about is you have to raise your level of thinking. Okay, so think about it. The Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you remember that in college psychology, you have it's really kind of the pyramid. There's like 7, I think, 5 or 7. Okay, and the bottom here is just basic needs. Food, clothing, shelter. Okay, and I'm not going to, this is not a teaching on this, but what's the top one? The top one, as you start moving up, is called self-actualization. And this is where you kind of reach the pyramid of happiness. Okay, what this will produce is happiness. You're not chasing happiness, but when you become what they call self-actualized, you will be happy. It's sort of like they define each other. Okay. And that's when you come to the full fulfillment of who you are, what you're doing on this earth, okay, and which defines why you do what you do. And the problem with us is that the tension that you deal with every day, the tension you run into really is your ego. Okay, you've got who you think you are. Okay, you think you're this person. And you're frustrated because you're not that person. And so you kind of have this struggle with, I should be a better mother. I should be a better father. I should be a better whatever. So you have the ego that gets in the way of you doing what you need to do. And it will always traps you into pridefulness. Okay, your ego traps you into selfishness. Your ego traps you into what's in it for me as opposed to what's in it for other people. And the frustration is you want to be better, but you don't know how to be better. You see this model of all these great people that you would like to be like, but your frustration is, I'm just trying to survive, okay? And that's when you're just focused on this stuff right here. This is all survival stuff here, okay? And this is where tension and frustration and dealing with the world messes you up. But once you get up here, this is where you know who you are, why you're on this earth, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And this is when you totally let go of that ego part of you that becomes prideful and selfish. And this is where you just kind of let it go. Okay? Okay, so this is getting deep. Man, I don't mean to get this deep, but I kind of do. I really do, because I want you guys to learn how to make better decisions. And this is really the key to how to make better decisions. All right, so let me cover this concept with you, which is part of that ego thing. Okay, so the difference between aspiration and desire. Okay, I don't know that you can really understand getting rid of that selfish ego and achieving, that self-actualization, that thing that will drive you to do the things that make you happy. Well, do the things that will keep you feeling like there's a purpose in your life, and there's a purpose and there's meaning. Okay, that's a whole nother discussion that I don't have time for. Oh my gosh. Purpose and meaning. Oh man, that's the next lesson, my children. Purpose and meaning. Oh gosh, please, here's my thing. My thing is what flows through you sticks to you. So I've come to different, I don't know, realizations in my life that have come along the way, and I find that I stick to it when I give it away. So it's like I teach it so I can keep it. It almost rhymes. Anyway, the thing about desire is something we chase for whatever reason to satisfy the ego, right? So, okay, let's dig deeper in here. Desire is the thing you chase to satisfy a need. Okay, that need is usually driven by ego. Okay, like I desire her, that woman I desire. Okay, when a guy says that, you kind of know what he's talking about. Okay, it's that desire in his heart. I desire that Rolex watch. Okay, a watch is a watch. It tells time. It's no different than a G-Shock, Casio G-Shock. It tells time. I desire that watch. Now, sometimes it's a desire because. I desire that watch because. And then there's usually some kind of ego-driven reason. I desire that watch because it will make me look wealthy. I desire that watch because it will make me look like I'm an outdoorsman. Or I desire that watch because it's got the functionality that I need for it to do to help me live my life. Okay, I mean, whatever. Maybe some is more ego-driven than others. Okay, but desires are always those things that don't satisfy you. Like when I got out of the Air Force Academy, I was free. I was free to do what I wanted to do. You know, in the Air Force Academy, they just totally disciplined us. But then when I would graduate, it was like, baby, I'm single, young, a second lieutenant. I got money coming in. I got a job that I love. And man, the world was my oyster. And I had all these desires, but the desires were to feed my ego. I wanted other people to think I was sharp, sexy. Like, no kidding. Sexy, sharp, sexy, desirable. That's my modus operandi when I was in my 20s. I wanted to be desirable to other people so that the thing I desired was to be with that person or to satisfy the ego in me, that I could attract someone to me that fed my ego that, hey, I'm attractive, I'm where it's at. Okay. Of course, whenever I obtained and possessed the thing I desired, it didn't give me fulfillment or satisfaction. Because once I possessed it, all of a sudden it was like, this is boring. I want to desire something else that I can, I kept desiring things. I kept acquiring and possessing, right? For the sake of possessing and acquiring, to again feed the ego, feed the pride, and want to, that's how I was operating back then in my 20s. And, it's just something that I deal with all the time. But think about the other desires you might have. Now, it's okay to have desires. I'm not saying desire is bad, but when the desires define you as the person you are, this is where it becomes a tremendous source of frustration. Okay, so quote, desire is a wildfire that burns and burns and finally consumes us. Okay, desire is a wildfire that burns and burns and finally consumes us. And you kind of know people like that. Like some of the wealthy people that are mega rich but aren't happy. And there's a ton of them out there. It's like Andy Albright's mega rich, but he is happy. He's fulfilled. He has a purpose and meaning in his life, but he happens to be rich. In fact, his aspirations have caused him to attract wealth in his life, but wealth was never the objective. It was his aspiration to be a leader and influencer of people. Okay, so what is aspiration? Aspiration is a glowing fire that secretly and sacredly uplifts our consciousness and finally liberates us. Do you know anyone that's more liberated than Andy Albright? Or anybody who's of tremendous wealth that has really achieved, they figured out why they're here, and so they know what they need to do. So there's no doubt in their mind that their aspirations, okay, I spelled that correctly, that their aspiration is more of who they want to become. So this is more objects that you want to acquire, to possess. And aspiration is more to become. Not the best way I can describe it. To become. To become what? Well, in defining who you are, why you're on this earth, and what you do, and why you do what you do, you have to know that. What do you want to become? What do you aspire to? Do you see the difference? Desire is objects and things. Aspiration is who you want to be. It's kind of like, who do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a possessor of things? That's not really an aspiration, okay? But do you aspire to be a leader, an influencer? Do you aspire to be someone who can make other people's lives around you better? Do you aspire to be the person that when you counsel someone or when you talk to someone, you leave them with a feeling of being uplifted, that they can be a better person, they can aspire to be better? See, people that have aspiration in life inspire other people to aspire. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but they inspire people to aspire, to become better, to want to become better, not chase things, okay, but to aspire. Now look, but Alex, Andy says, get the Rob report. Andy says to, build dreams. Andy says, okay, look, Andy's using a powerful biblical principle called materialism. Now, why did the Israelites want to leave Egypt as slaves? Like, trust me, the Israelites were happy being slaves because all they felt they could aspire to was slavery. At least they had 3 square meals a day and they were alive. That's all they could aspire to. And they had a God that loved them, although they sometimes question whether they were really the chosen people or not. Chosen to be what? Chosen to be slaves? It was the self-image thing that the Jewish people were having problems with. So that was kind of their battle all the time was, we're the chosen people, but okay, I don't feel like, God's helping us out here, so maybe he's not really there, so let's worship these other things. When in fact, they were the chosen people. And the only time when they realized that, life was good. So how did Moses, Moses said, you're the chosen people. God has created a land for you, the land of milk and honey. Okay, it was not the land of happiness and worship, and being one and worshiping God. And no, they never talked about that. They talked about land of milk and honey, and so he sold them, Moses sold them. God bless Moses, man. He's probably the ultimate salesman, like imagine. But he sold them on following him. Once Pharaoh finally got the clue that all this pestilence came from the God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob. Once Pharaoh figured out who was in charge, not some golden calf or some, dog-looking silver statue guy, but I'm totally messing up the Bible, so I apologize. I'm not an ordained minister, nor do I play one on TV. Okay, but I like to keep the Bible simple, because what I love about the Bible is that God has always tried to fix us, because He's a creator, so He can, and we just have to listen. And all the covenants, when you look at the history of Bible history, it's a series of covenants that He made with His people. That guess what? His people blew. They blew the first covenant, Adam and Eve, right? And then the second covenant, the third, everyone up until Jesus Christ. But, it's just kind of how we roll. So anyway, I digress. But he motivated them with the land of milk and honey. It was a material thing that he guided them and attracted them because he knows that our base desires are, again, do you think Maslow created the hierarchy of needs? No, God did. God knows that how he made man. Okay, so that survival instinct, he knows that we operate here. So how does he attract us? He attracts us with the land of milk and honey. How did he get David, to slay the giant, Goliath? It wasn't to become the king. It was to have tax-free benefits. Okay, like, can you imagine like having a tax-free life? Who wouldn't want to no longer pay taxes? Okay, it was to have the hand of his daughter in marriage. Like, I don't know what she looked like. She might have been like a total babe, but maybe she wasn't, but he was still after the tax-free life. Okay, I mean, just very simple things. I mean, but he was attracting David here, not here. He didn't give him this inspiration of, you will be king, salvation will come from your line. He didn't do none of that. It was like, dude, why don't you have a comfortable life? And so, David did his thing, killed Goliath. Goliath fell, cut his head off. I love those dramatic stories, man. It's like action hero, man. I could see David in like spandex and, with his sling, his super sling. Should be a comic book character. But anyway, so God has this way of kind of, okay, so what am I saying this? Because you might think, oh, material, Andy, Rob report. No, come on, man. Why? What are we trying to do in the Alliance? We're trying to attract people to fulfill their basic needs. They need to believe that they can feed their basic needs, right? And so when we attract them in, we want to bring them in because we want them to know that we're not going to judge them, that there is a way to make money and to meet their material needs, okay? And we're going to show them exactly what to do to do that. Okay, we're not trying to inspire them with this mega mission, although mission inspires people, but we want to show them at the most basic level that their basic needs will be met. Once we get them rocking there, we influence them more and show them, hey, how about this? How about let's bring some other people on, man. Let's make you a meaningful specific in someone else's life as opposed to a wandering generality where you just, why am I here? What am I doing? What is my place on this earth? So this is where we give them meaning and purpose. We illuminate to them by hanging around us that have that purpose, which is no longer money. So we kind of graduated from here and we start moving up here. Okay, we're moving up to the top. Okay, the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where our need now is to give ourselves away to others unselfishly, right? So that's the whole trick. I guess you'd say Andy's tricking people to become better by first incentivizing. So, well, Andy wears this humongous rock or diamonds on his wife's hand and watches. Folks, okay, Andy could care less. He could care less. Honestly, I've been with the man. He could care less about that. He doesn't need a Rolex watch to be happy in his life. He just needs his family and needs to know that Alex Avian is becoming better. That gives him fulfillment, is that I get my act together. I'm still I'm working out my salvation with fear and trembling, all right? And when I let him know that I'm becoming better and being more like that to give myself away to others, it thrills him to no end. It's not a watch. Okay, so please don't be deluded. Yeah, you guys talk about material things. No, man. No, I'm really anti-material guy, because see, I remember how I became. Remember this part? I really knew how I was like that. I didn't like me there. So that's why for myself, it's like, man, that's not someplace I want to go because I know how my brain is. Okay. But aspiration, man, what do you desire your life to be? Let's kind of figure out some more here. He who desires wants to possess each and everything, each and every individual in the entire world. So he who desires, okay, we're talking desires, they want to possess each and everything, each and every individual in the entire world. He who aspires wants only those things that will help him transcend his abundant limitations and teeming imperfections. Okay, that's pretty deep stuff, right? He who aspires wants only those things that will help him transcend his abundant limitations and teeming imperfections. Okay, so you remember at the end of our talk with me and Patrick, who's the enemy? Right here. The enemy is us. Now we recognize that enemy, okay, the enemy of this world, who runs the world, who's running rampant, Satan and his demons. We recognize that enemy. But you know what that enemy does? That enemy tries to help us activate our enemy within. What was the quote, Cord, about Screw Tape Letters? Oh my gosh, that book's a great book. The whole theme of that book is just let man be man. Let man work here, and then the demons don't have any problems, because if you just let man work at this level of desires, man, they don't got to work hard, but they got to work overtime. Why? Because when man starts to aspire to become better, what happens is they aspire to become closer to God, because they become more of what God wanted them to be. And so they eschew these things or get rid of these things in their life. That's when they have to work, right? So that's the enemy is here, right? The enemy is here because we limit ourselves in our life with all this crap. We do. And that limitation will always prevent us from reaching the ultimate idea of aspiring to be that which God wants us to be. See, do you know that God wants us to always be the better version of ourselves and to fulfill God's dream for us? Because God has a dream for us. God's dream for us is to be ultimately everything He gave us to create our impact on the world. He gave us talents, gave us our personalities, gave us He's equipped us with everything we need to become His dream for us. We can ultimately become what He wants us to be, right? Someone who has impact on others, to build His kingdom, to build this world around us, to build up other people, and to finally realize we're not alone. See, the thing that holds us back when we operate in desire mode is that it's a very lonely feeling. We're only operating in our own heads. And when you're operating in your own head, you're no different than the guy that sits in his mother's basement eating Cheetos, eating Cheetos and surfing the internet. It's like they're inside themselves, and that's nowhere to be, right? But when you start aspiring to be what God wants you to be, the best version of yourself, then you transcend that. You transcend those limitations of being in the basement, and you open yourself up to your impact in the world, where you can make a worldwide impact, okay, by helping individual people out there. See, do you understand that? Is by your influence on each single person creates an impact on the world, because when those people learn to aspire and no longer desire, man, you just spun someone off who's understood it, they got it. It's like, okay, I get it now. I totally get Andy Albright now. I get it now because I want to do what he's doing. I want to serve. I want to give myself away. It's 11 p.m., 12 p.m., whatever. I'm still working. I'm still working. I'm still, doing the do. I'm still giving myself away to other people. Okay, and I personally still have to fight. Like, Cord, you tried to call me. I don't know. It was midnight last night, and dude, I fell asleep because I was so tired. Because I nonstop yesterday. I was talking to people nonstop yesterday, nonstop. I mean, literally nonstop, except in the hotspot meeting. And then Cord tries to call me, and I wake up at, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning or something like that. And I said, oh man, I missed a call from Cord. It was like around midnight. I'm like, dadgummit, I missed my opportunity to serve someone late at night when it was inconvenient. So I apologize, Cord. I messed up. So forgive me. I'm trying to aspire to be someone with energy. Okay, so but I desired sleep. I desired sleep. Oh man, Anyway, so look, it's okay to have desires, all right, but what do you want to become? So anyway, I hope I hope that all made sense. I mean, it's like deep stuff, man. It is it is deep stuff. So okay, so let's get on to how to simplify your life. I think I can do this in 15 minutes. I think I have 15 minutes left. Hope I didn't. I hope you're still with me all. Is this making sense? Or you guys kind of is your brain like Jello? Okay, so how to make better decisions, which is really kind of why I wanted to put this together. I really want to talk about this, but that other stuff kind of, it was just something in me that I wanted to get out. Okay, so here's the problem with the world. Okay, the world is information overload. We're getting bombarded with junk, and it's worse because of media, social media, the internet, all the things that we got to do. It seems like things have multiplied. I remember, Cord, remember back in the day when we just go out, man, and we play pickup baseball. You know, we get some mitts and we pick sides, right? And then we just go play, or pick up basketball, pick everything, or pick up football. We played in the streets, you know, where the sideline was cars, you know, and I got tackled from some serious cars where you catch a ball and you like, you know, break off a mirror. Like seriously, like in the streets of Oakland. That's where we played football. And so the cars would come down, so we'd we would go to the side, let the cars through, and then we, you know, do another play. Today, Cord, what do they have? They have organized. It's all organized. They got travel teams. They got regional teams, national teams. It's an all-year sport. Where back in the day, Cord, remember we just, when it's baseball season, we played baseball. Football season, we played baseball. When it's basketball season, we played basketball. You know. But now it's gotten so complicated, and what's complicated that further is that the parents have to, pay their $500 to get the uniforms, and help pay the coach's salary. They gotta, maybe they're sending their kids to lessons. They're doing, like, our world has gotten infinitely more complicated. Okay, and what happens is it creates this thing called decision fatigue. It's a real thing. Like, this is a thing. Decision fatigue. So let me describe decision fatigue. Okay, they did a study. Okay, they studied judges on the bench making decisions. They a myriad of cases all day long, especially in like basic civil court. They're probably listening to cases once every 20 minutes. They're just like boom. Traffic court, quicker. Criminal cases, you got the big judge like on TV. Okay, they're in there every day. They're rendering judgment over a period of time. But the ones where they're just cranking out judgments, okay, this is what they found out. Okay, so 9 a.m. Okay, 5 p.m. and then you got lunch. So what they did was they tracked these judges, and they found that in the morning time, okay, right about here, all their judgments and sentencing was favorable to the defendant. All right? Favorable to the defendant. And then when it got closer to lunchtime, okay, so this is a plus, and then they got minus, minus, minus. It got worse for the defendant. Okay? Then they ate lunch, and then everything was good for the defendants on sentencing, but then as it got closer to 5 p.m., everything got worse. It was literally this cycle of, it kind of went like this, meaning this is bad for the defendant, and it was, this is new, kind of like that. Anyway, so why? Well, because they start the day, they're fresh, they got energy, they ate breakfast, and then case after case after case, they have to render decision. They start getting worn out. And then they get renewed at lunch, good decisions, but decisions, then they get tired. And that's kind of the cycle. So God help you if your case is like 11:30, because it's gonna be bad for you as the criminal. All right? It's called decision fatigue. It's a real thing. Here's another study that was done on decision fatigue, and like the problem of multiple decisions. It was kind of decision fatigue in the way that you had multiple choices. So in a college campus, they had one place that was selling jam. Okay, what they were doing, they were testing this theory. So they had one end of the campus, they were selling jam. The other place, they were selling jam. But the difference between the two places is one place, they were selling like 28 different types of jam. Like 28, like I didn't even know you could have 28 different types of jam. But I guess if you could have 32 flavors of ice cream, you could probably have easily 28 types of jam. But you know, 28, I mean, oh my gosh, 20, I can't even think. Like I like strawberry preserves. Smucker's, I'm down with strawberry preserves and grape jelly. I'm like, I love peanut butter sandwiches. Those are the only two things I'll put. Like marmalade just sounds funny, and it's got like orange peels in it. It's like I'm just like I'm not that kind of guy that likes to experiment with all these crazy jams. I just do, you know, I just do the thing, right? Well, they once one table had 20, and then the other end of the campus they only had two, two types of jams. Probably it was strawberry and grape. I guess I don't know what they were, but there were just two choices. They were selling them for, you know, cheap. You know where they sold the most jams? They sold the most jams at the place there were only two choices, one or the other, right? Versus the 28 choices of jams. Isn't that interesting how immediately when faced with multiple choices, you get decision fatigue, but where there's only two, I want jam, I'll get this one. You know, it's like the optometrist. Does A look better or B? Okay, what they're really doing for you is they've got probably 100 different options, but what they're going to do is make it easy. A or B, A or B, A, okay, A or B, A or B. Instead of saying, okay, let's just run through all 100 of these and figure out which is the best one for you. You know, they just make it easy. It's decision fatigue. See, the problem when we wake up every morning is we're faced with all these decisions. Like, what am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to wear? Like, you might think it's an easy decision, but it's a decision. Now, remember, decision fatigue. You can only make so many decisions until you get tired of making decisions. And the problem with getting tired of making decisions after making so many judgments about what you should do or what you should pick is that you start making worse decisions. This is where you fall into impulse buying, where you make impulse decisions because you're so tired. It's like you don't put enough thought into it or enough energy on important decisions. So that's when you make stupid decisions, when you get tired, your stamina is down, right? So here's another. Here's a great one. Here's a great one. Do you know that Steve Jobs? Do you know why pictures you see him? He's got the black kind of sweater shirt and jeans. Like I dare you to find a picture where you see him wearing something different, right? Do you guys know that? Like when you see him, it's that black tight thing and jeans. Do you know that he wears the same thing every day? Why? Because he understands decision fatigue. He doesn't want to make a decision on what he wears every day. Alex, that seems kind of strange. Okay, how many billions of dollars do you think the man's worth? Why do you think he's a billionaire? Because he saves his decision-making juice for the important decisions in his life that mean something. He doesn't waste his decision-making energy on all kinds of crap. Does that make sense? Even wearing the same thing every day. Now, isn't that interesting how it's even to that detail? There are other people like that, like Steve Zuckerberg. He wears a great t-shirt. You know, Facebook guy. He does exactly the same thing. These guys kind of learn from each other. Well, you might think it's a trivial thing. Well, this is the reason why you live a trivial life. Because you don't honor the fact that you have only so much power in your brain to handle X number of decisions, important decisions in your life, and then you waste your decision-making energy on crap. Okay. Okay. And it really comes down to how to really simplifying your decision-making in your life. Simplify your life. I mean, Andy talks about simplifying your life. This is what we're talking about. Simplifying your life so you're not making important decisions on the menial one, on the things that don't mean anything, right? Seems kind of a weird concept, but it is powerful when you understand that, okay, so like I just give an example of how just ways I've simplified my life. Okay. Um, when I dress for work, you're not gonna. I would like to wear my Boy Scout pants. Okay, my Boy Scout den leader pants, my cargo pants, a shirt like this is kind of an outdoorsy Colombian shirt. I don't care how I look, other than it's utility. Okay, it gets me into work. I feel like I'm doing something because I'm more outdoorsy kind of wear. And there's only kind of a small group of clothes I'm going to wear, and then I put them on, go to work, come to the office. Okay, I just like clockwork. I don't even think about it. When I come to work, I have my tea, and you know what I eat for breakfast? I eat oatmeal for breakfast every day. Is that kind of boring? No, I don't have to make a decision on what I'm eating because I got a hot water dispenser, put hot water, I put my oatmeal, and I eat oatmeal every day. Well, what do you do for lunch? I don't got time to go out for lunch because then if I go out for lunch, I got to think about where I'm going to go, what am I going to eat, how long I'm going to have for lunch. Oh my gosh, it's too much. I don't want to have to deal with that. So you know what I do? I bought a whole bunch of ramen noodles, cup of soup, cup of noodles. So again, hot water dispensers are awesome. I pour the hot water in, I cover it up, I let it, do its thing, then I eat it. That's what I eat for lunch. Then when I go home for dinner, Jeannie makes whatever, and I eat whatever she makes me. I don't have to make a decision on that. It's whatever it is. And I have no right to complain about whatever she's cooking. I'll eat whatever, man. And then I go on to do my thing. I don't put decision-making power in those kinds of things. Here's another way that I've simplified my life. And I've talked about this on the conference calls before. Crap. I got so much more here. The other thing I do to simplify my life is I don't. Okay, when you see beggars on the street, people asking for money, there's this internal conflict I used to go through. It's like, oh man, that guy's just going to use it to buy drugs and mess up his life anyway. And so there's some that I would not give money to because I would just project my thought on what this guy's going to do. I'm going to just feed his alcoholism. I'm going to, continue to enable him with money to keep him out here on the streets. And then there's others that I would have compassion for and I give money to. Well, the problem with doing that is, who made me the judge on what they're going to do with it? Because I have no idea what they're going to do with it. It's like I could be kind or I could be I could withhold God's blessings. And so every time I'd run into a beggar, it would tear me up, like, because I'd feel guilty what the guy did. It's like, why did this guy deserve it when this guy did not? And they look the same. Maybe I judge them on how they look. Maybe I judge them on male, female. It was like tearing me up. I don't know if it bothers you guys, but it bothers me why am I kind to one person and not kind to another? And it just, and here's the problem. Whenever I walked away, I felt good about the one I did to, but then the one I didn't, I'd feel guilty all day. I go, God, how come I didn't, why did I rationalize it? And it would tear me up. And so that just drove me crazy. So you know what I made the decision? I said, God, you put him in front of me. I'm going to give him whatever I have. I'm going to give him whatever in my pocket. I don't care. Can you break a $20 bill? If I didn't have anything, I'd just give him a 20 because it's not my money anyway. See, that's how I kind of figured it out. Oh, well, it's your money. You put this guy in front of me. I'm just going to like someone on the street when you're making a left turn and they're just sitting there, it's like, here you go. I don't care. It made my life so much easier, right? Because I didn't have to decide anymore. I just do it. Like when I was in Chicago at my son's national volleyball tournament, my son was with me, and we ran into 3 different beggars, and it was like 3 degrees, and they were outside. And so every time we encountered them, I just took money out of my pocket and gave it to him and just moved on. I didn't mention it to my son. I didn't say, son, see, this is a great lesson. It's like, he'll either get it or not. I didn't want to make a big thing of it because if I make a big thing, it is a big thing. I just want him to see my example where I didn't have to think about it. I just gave it. Okay. Now, look, I'm not saying this so that you can think I'm like this generous giver. Okay. I'm just doing it because I don't want to complicate my life, especially when it comes to what God wants me to do. You know what I mean? So that's another example, okay, of simplifying things. Here's another example of it. Jet pilots, okay? A bunch of my buddies in the Air Force Academy became jet pilots. And it amazes me the things that they teach them. Emergency checklists. They have to memorize the emergency checklist. If the engine's out, they have a checklist of about 12 things that they got to do. Boom, 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 boom. All the way where it's like pull ejection lever and eject. They have boom, 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 fire controls, boom. They have it memorized. Why do they have it memorized? Because they don't have time to think in the plane because everything's done in seconds. They could be dead in seconds. So that's why they have to go through the emergency procedures just like that without even thinking. Do you think they simplified their life? Absolutely, because it became a checklist that they didn't have to make any decisions. They knew what to do because it was memorized beforehand what they had to do. And they're operating on seconds of death where they could be dead or alive. And so boom, emergency checklist, boom. Any situation, you go up to any jet pilot and say, what do you do when your engine flames out and you're spinning? Bump, 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 bump. They'll tell you exactly what they need to do. Talk about simplifying your life, okay? So simplifying your decision process. How do you overcome decision fatigue and how do you make better decisions, okay? And let's talk more on a practical level. I wish I had more time to do this, but I don't. So let's just kind of help you. What you have to do to simplify your life is turn your mundane decisions into commitments. Did I spell that right? 2 T's? Okay, maybe I spelled it wrong. You got to turn your decisions into commitments. Commitments, okay, so let me tell you what commitments are. As many as you can. Commitments is making the decision already. You made the decision already, and then your decision is manifested by your actions, like what Andy said on the activity call. You can tell me all you want, but I only watch what you do. What you do speaks so loud that the words you say I cannot hear. What you do speaks so loud that the words I cannot hear. So commitments are the do part. Decisions, you already made it. That's why it makes it so easy. Simplifying your life is turning your decisions into commitments. How do I know you're committed? Because your commitments turn into stuff you put in your schedule, and then you follow your schedule. Right? And I have that whole scheduling model that I choose. So when you turn decisions into your schedule, and like your decision to become a better father, okay, or a better wife. Well, if you're going to turn that decision, which is an aspiration, okay, so you got aspirations. It's not things. So one of my aspirations is to be the best father I can be to my children. So how can I be the best father? I make the decision first that I want to be the best father. I turn it into a commitment. I put it in my schedule. Do you see how that works? Your aspirations become something that you honor by following a schedule with it. So, family time. I got family time marked out. I aspire to be the best husband to my wife. So I made the decision already. So I'm making a commitment. I'm putting my calendar. We're going to date each other. This is our date night. Date night. Cup of coffee. All right? I aspire to be the best provider for my family. One of the ways I provide for my family is selling life insurance. So I turn that decision of an aspiration to be the best provider into a commitment, which turns into a schedule, which turns into dial times, and appointment setting times, or appointment times, the dial times to appointments. See how that works? So your aspirations force you to make a decision. Your decision turns into commitment. Your commitment turns into a schedule. And your schedule becomes a manifestation of your commitments, which have been decisions that have been made already. Do you see how simplifying your life becomes an easy thing, where you do your thing because you know what you're doing. You know why you're doing it, because of your aspirations. And then it becomes not a question. The tension and the struggle and the difficulty you don't have to mess with, because it's already done. Now, is it hard? Yeah. You have to overcome the stamina for negative. So remember, it's easier to make better decisions when you don't have to make decisions. But the decisions you have to make every day, they become quality decisions. You increase the quality of your decision making, and you limit the number of them that you have to make that are big. Okay? Or maybe they're mundane ones, okay, that have but little consequence. But the bigger decisions you have to make become quality. You're able to invest emotional energy, financial energy into it with your spouse to make good quality decisions. But your commitments are what will create the results in your life. Does that make sense? So that's how you turn your aspiration to become, okay, and then this is guilt-free. This becomes a guilt-free proposition in your life. That's just where you minimize the struggle and the anxiety. Okay, now it's still going to be hard. You're going to run into challenges, okay? You're going to run into, so this is where the concept of, you've got a negative, okay, you can only handle so much negative. So you have a gas tank, okay, this is your gas tank that you either fill up or you use. So out of your gas tank, you can handle negative. Now, if your gas tank is full, like at the beginning of the day when you wake up, it's easier to handle negative, like the negative of people rejecting you on the phone. Okay, why new ages have struggled, because they can only handle so much. They haven't expanded their gas tank to a level where they can handle more negative. So what you're trying to do is teach them how to expand the gas tank so they could fill it up more with more good stuff. So how do you combat the negative and have stamina for negative? Well, we have a thing called the system. Read books, listen to audio, positive audio, the Move CDs. That's why we expose people to guarding themselves against the negatives, so that not only does their gas tank to handle negative go up, but they have it filled up all the time. So it's stuff like this. It's guarding. Okay, I'm going to throw this concept at you. I hope you understand it. It's guarding your eye gate and ear gate. Your eye gate is the stuff you read. So you can read positive books or you can read the newspaper. I promise you the newspaper has negative. And what that negative will do is it'll reduce your gas tank. And then when you go out to start dialing, you start dialing and you have less stamina to handle the number of dials you got to make to book appointments. They all correlate. Okay, so the newspaper, don't do newspaper. Don't do news on TV. I limit my access to TV because I don't want to listen to anything that will suck the negative out of my tank, right? Because I only have so much negative I can deal with. I can only deal with certain, okay, people in your life that are negative. Do you know the people in your life you hang out with? If they're negative, they're sucking you dry, man. And then you have less stamina to handle the important people in your life that you're trying to influence, trying to get them to aspire to be better. They're having negative problems. And after that negative knucklehead, that a friend, supposed friend, starts getting you down with gossip and crap, how much energy do you have to devote to someone who really needs you to help them overcome their situation that has a financial impact on your business, has emotional impact on you and your family because you love them? You got nothing, man. So you got to guard this with your life. It's the most precious thing you have is your stamina to handle negative in your life and to handle it on your own. All right? You got to guard it. You got to guard your eye gate and your ear gate. everything that you expose yourself to that's negative will suck you out dry. And then you have less ability to make the right decisions. You see how this all correlates? See how this all correlates? Well, when you're doing positive things in your life, because it supports your commitments to your aspirations, because you made the decision already. Do you see how simplifying your life like this, now you operate every day at the highest efficiency because you already made the decision. And so now that you know, and you start increasing your ability to, you start achieving more of what you aspire to be, then life is fulfilled. And you're happy as a result of being fulfilled. And your purpose and meaning go through the roof, and you just wake up every day never worried. See, because how could you worry about anything that God put on your plate to aspire to when you got God on your side? When He's on your side, gang, nothing, you don't have to worry about a thing. You just operate, okay, you operate your life according to Him and the mission He gave you and the aspirations you have, right, to be the best you can be. And worry and fear just dissipate. And that's when you ultimately figure out, man, God, number one, God's always got my back. I just got to do what He wants me to do. So I simplify my life by making the proper decisions in advance. And then I turn those decisions into commitments. And then I run my life based on those commitments. And then the results of my life confirm that I am becoming the person God wanted me to be. And I just have to keep trusting and having faith. Boom. It just happens. It's a cool thing, but you got to think about it every day. I think one of the most important things out of all this, and I'm going to finish up here, is at the end of each day, you have to think about, I don't want to use like a meditation, but meditation is actually good for you. All right, so I'm not going to go into meditation, but meditation is just reflecting and letting your mind go of nothingness, like think nothing. You know how hard it is not to think about anything? But when you kind of let yourself go and let God inside your head, He'll speak to you when you're totally silent and not thinking about anything. So I do a couple things. I think about my day. I think about how I could have been better. I think about how I could have been, how I could have done this part better, the commitment schedule, the effect of it, the results. So I go through a period of thinking about that. And then I go through a period of prayer. And then after that, I just like release my mind and think about nothing. Okay, some people call that sleeping. You want to do it before you actually fall asleep, but just not thinking about anything. And this is not going to be a lesson on meditation. That's a whole nother subject. But when you can just not think about anything, give yourself a way to refresh, turn your brain off, then God starts talking to you in the silence of that. And it's pretty powerful. Like you'll actually hear stuff. Like I'm not kidding. It's weird, but you actually hear stuff. And it's an awesome thing. Anyway, I'm done, gang. Anyone still on the call? All right. Cool. Oh, man. Yeah, I'll get it out to y'all. And so, wow, that helped me out. So I'm glad you guys were there to listen to it, because that really helped me out more than it helped you. Anyway, well, God bless everybody. I know I'm late, 15 minutes after, so I'll get this out to everybody. I hope it made sense. If you got any questions, just let me know. All right, so let's rock and roll this week, man. Let's aspire. All right, let's aspire instead of desire. All right, man. Take care. God bless. See ya.